Personality
Okay.
is to a man what perfume is to a flower. Hi guys, this is Pallabi from the studio today. You are watching Personalities with Pallabi on Kumari Pallabi 19. Guest for today's episode is an amazing personality who is an entomologist, a PhD holder, and a macrophotographer. So without any further delay, let's welcome Mr. Sharath. Hello and welcome Mr. Sharath to this session of interview. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Pallavi. First of all, thanks for the invite and having me here in your YouTube channel. So I'm glad that I'm meeting you on this and we are interacting something about that I'm passionate about. So thanks for this opportunity to you as well.
Yeah, you are welcome. Could
Okay.
you please give us some
Because
insight
I have
about yourself?
Yes. So telling you about myself, I'm an entomologist and based out of Karnataka. I'm from Karnataka. So initial my schooling and my born and brought up everything was in Bangalore, which is the capital of Karnataka, and which is called the Silicon Valley of India.
Yeah.
Early schooling and education, everything I completed in Bangalore. Then my graduation in Shumaga, which comes to Western Ghats of Karnataka, which is the Western Ghats of Karnataka, which we call as Malnad region also, which is full of greenery. And coming to my passion towards this subject. So honestly telling, I really did not expect that I would jump into such a biological science profession initially when I thought, because I was more fascinated, I was more pulled towards the mechanics, like the technology. So rather than the wildlife or the biology. But one driving thing that happened during my intermediate, during my plus one and plus two was that I was a little bit scared of maths, and people told me from my surrounding that if you join engineering, so it would be like a lot of maths. So that literally scared me, and I had to jump to. Then I thought like, why wouldn't I choose something other than like which has less of maths? But trust me, even after joining the biology, like I just took physics, chemistry, maths, and biology in my intermediate. Then I wanted to switch to profession which is like full of biological science, biology, other than having less of maths.
Okay.
But coming, yeah, on that journey, I also unraveled that there was one course called agriculture, so where we'll be taught something about agriculture. And so then, in fact, like my mind was, I was not completely into pursuing that degree, but somehow with the suggestions of my brother, actually one of my brother's friends, he told that yeah, this is a good profession and it has too much diversity, so you can study biological science, you can study plant science, so everything is like amalgamated into one area so that you can just try upon. But honestly speaking, but there was one thing that again drive me to this biological sciences. So there was one professor during my intermediate who used to teach us biology. So he always, yeah, that his teaching always, maybe a kind of pulled us from physics, chemistry, maths towards biology. So then we were like, we wanted to like continue with the same. So it was a flow, and also it was a kind of like add-on thing for me, because I did not really like maths at that point of time. But honestly telling, now I love maths actually. So it's a very beautiful subject. Mathematics is something that works on logics, that keeps you more alert, and that makes you kind of you start loving that mathematics when you start doing it. But initially I did not feel so, but now I do. Okay, this is all about my education, my journey. And coming to my why I chose entomology, maybe like I want to pass on to you like how should we begin our conversation. So what are the things that we will be discussing in this interview? So over to you, Pallavi.
It is found that we share the same genre of interest. So moving on to the next question, means how do you maintain both your hobby and your educational life, that is studying entomology, doing your PhD research as well as macro photography?
Yes, so thanks you asked this question. So maintaining my hobby. In fact, like my subject, that is the entomology, which I studied for my master's and PhD, that is one driving thing which actually brought me to this hobby. So before my masters, like during my graduation, we had a subject of entomology also, like crop protection, we call it agricultural entomology, wherein we did not study much about like maybe some basic fundamental course of like 3 to 4 courses where we studied basics, and we had this opportunity, or like we had this practical oriented thing called as like insect collection. So we used to have this as a practical, which used to have 5 marks for us. So we were supposed to collect 50 insects, so then we'll get fine, something like that. So this assignment, and like that is actually the time where we were like more exposed to insects, diversity of insects, like what are the different categories. So like we would be able to, at that point of time, we were like we had that knowledge of naming the insects, or like understanding to which species it belong, which family, at least which families it belong, which genus. So what is the exact group that insect belongs whenever we used to spot them. So this is something drew us to, apart from collection, to capture them through photographs. So, but at that point of time, we did not even barely had myself. I would say, like I would take my own example. I did not had my any of my smartphone or cell phone which had a camera. So like it was, I had no much opportunity to capture them. I only collected them, preserved them, and I submitted to my college so that I could get 5 marks. But there were two professors of mine who actually used to teach us entomology. So they fascinated us. So their teaching fascinated us. And from the beginning, I was pulled towards something that I can see through. Like because there were few many other courses also, like genetics, chromosomes, like other very what molecular sciences, small molecular biology things. But that really did not attract me because everything was like imaginary. So you have to imagine, if it is a DNA, so you have to imagine that, oh, DNA is having this helical structure and all these things. But this entomology was not like that. So entomology was like, you see the things, you perceive them, and you try to understand them and you study them, right? So this is something that drew me, and like that caught my attention. So I just shifted myself to the in depth, like started studying insects, and I decided at that point of time that I would pursue my future career, or like at least my future education, my masters and my doctorate in entomology. And whenever I used to see insects, like whenever I go for collection, usually they used to fascinate me with their behavior and the kind of behavior they had between their groups, or maybe it's kind of interaction they had with their predators, they had with their prey. So all these things used to fascinate me, then and there. So this is something that actually drew me to entomology, and that's the reason I pursued my master's in entomology. Then I shifted to, I also decided to pursue my doctorate career as well in entomology. Now I have completed both the degrees. So from
Congratulations on
Mr.
that,
Sharath to Dr. Sharath. Yeah,
doctor.
thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a great achievement. So, how long it to take to complete your PhD course?
Yes, actually, the time allotted or the time given to us is actually 3 years for a PhD. But I almost completed it within time, like 3 years. I did not take much time for it, and masters was 2 years. Like overall, it's been a kind of 5 years of my journey studying entomology. Of course, we studied our entomology even in graduation. If you add that also, like it's been 8 to 9 years I'm with this subject. So I'm studying about insects, and for my master's, I concentrated more upon their management through different means. Like I used to study their like dynamics. So in relation to nature, like how they're fluctuating in the environment. So with respect to different weather parameters. And I also, since it was like, which I took was actually agriculture, crop protection. So I concentrated more upon their management. So, but later on, I thought that I wanted to get in some more deep into it. But and also I had one of my professor in Bangalore, so where I was doing my masters. So his name was Dr. K Chandrasekhara. So he was an expert on behavior as well as chemical ecology. And his passion for entomology, the knowledge he gave to us, we were like, we were so blessed to be under his guidance or by taking the teaching of him. So he inspired us all, just not me. Like just like me, other fellows were also there who were like inspired from by him. And then I took behavioral and chemical ecology for my doctor because of the inspiration I took from that professor. And then I worked on insect behavior, actually the calling behavior of insects. So how this female and male calling happens, and the courtship behavior. And also I studied on the sex pheromone of one of the moth we call Spodoptera. Spodoptera frugipoda that used to come, and that was actually a very invasive and devastating pest on the maize crop, the corn crop. So I took that. I wanted to study upon on the behavioral aspect of that insect, and the journey continued. So now I'm done with that. I submitted my thesis also successfully, and I have two publications in international journals also.
Okay, your publications could be of great help to our audience. So, what?
Yes, yes.
So my question is, have you ever got insect bite during your insect handling time?
Yes, not one or two times. I think many a times. So what used to happen is like not all the insects. In fact, like I would say like some groups, maybe the wasps and these bees. So these are like the ones which are having sting, and also sometimes it used to happen that when we handle some other beetles which can produce some kind of secretions, which used to irritate our skin, and not during collection probably. And also these wasps are very difficult to collect. I used to get scared in collecting these wasps because some wasps are solitary, they will be single, but most of the families of wasps and bees, as you know, they are social. They will be in hundreds and thousands. So if one movement goes wrong, then you're gone. Everything, you will be bitten by like so many insects. That fear also we had. But quite a couple of times, yes, I have bitten by, or I have not. I would not say bitten, because bitten is not a very proper word. I was stung by the wasp
Yeah,
actually.
that's true. So, which institute have given you this PhD degree?
Yes. So I have completed my PhD degree from University of Agriculture and Horticulture Sciences, Shumaga. And also I pursued a part of my research in Indian Institute of Chemical Technology, which is based at Hyderabad. So that's a CSIR institute which comes under Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. So there I pursued part of my research, since we did not had a very sophisticated instruments in our university. So I just took a help of another institute which had a very sophisticated lab for my chemistry work actually. So in collaboration I just completed my degree.
According to you, what would be the scope for the young aspirants in India in the field of entomology?
Yes. So if you take entomology, Pallavi, so there is like, so far there is only 1.5 million species which have been named or which have been identified. But there are so many other millions of insects which are still not identified, which people doesn't even know, or they can't even recognize which species it belongs or which to group it belongs to. Okay, so this is one scope, like for people who are aspiring entomology to get into, because entomology has a lot of diverse fields. Like there are fields like taxonomy, there are fields like insecticide toxicology you can study, and there are fields like insect behavior, chemical ecology, where in chemical ecology you can study about their pheromone patterns and their pheromone composition. So how they attract, like how the female actually attracts the male through pheromone release. Entomology is just not a very narrow area, I would consider. It's a very vast area and a very broad area where people can take up their interest, or like area of interest. Within entomology there are diverse fields. So if you go much deeper, like there are also applied or allied fields as well, like crop management, pest management, like that. So storage pest management, like field pest, crop pest management. because like most of these insects, they are just not predators of like this natural, beneficial. There are some harmful insects also which comes on our crops that the farmer grows. And currently I'm actually have started my profession, so I'm working as a field scientist. So I basically work on the crop management, insect pest management as well as disease management.
Okay.
So there are diverse fields, I could say, for the youngsters who want to pursue their career in biological science. Entomology is, of course, a very fascinating thing you can take up, and
Yeah.
and also the agriculture degree as well. I would recommend for the youngsters, because most of the time when people think about agriculture, they think that they just go to farms and they work. This is something they have in their mind, but agriculture education or agriculture career is too vast. There's a very diverse field. So you have genetics, you have plant breeding, you have agriculture microbiology, you have pest management like agriculture, where you study insects. Also, there is something called plant pathology, so where you study about diseases. So people will have n number of opportunity to choose or opt if they go for agriculture, education. And also at the end of the day, we should be the one farming, serving our farming community. So at least
Yeah.
when we are eating every day, we can give a little bit of contribution to the one who is giving us food. So maybe in that case, I think I'm proud enough that
Yeah.
every day when I wake up, I go to the field, I meet a farmer, I thank him, I acknowledge his efforts, I acknowledge his, the kind of sacrifice he's doing to feed the world.
Indeed. So you have already built your career in the field of entomology, but we would like to know what was your dream during your childhood? Means what you wanted to be at that time.
So honestly speaking, there was like I was a kind of child. Like I everything that used to I used to spot at, that used to drive me, because whenever I watch and kind of like whenever I used to watch movies. So when there is a character like a police character, so I would think that I want to become a police. So when there is a doctor character, so I would think I want to become. So specifically speaking, I had no much. Uh, I would not. At that point of time, I think there was not any one profession that actually pulled me very strongly that I wanted to become this, because I wanted to become everything that I could spot or I could see somewhere or I could see around. And whenever I used to see these pilots, I used to think that yes, even one day I want to fly. So even I want to become a pilot. So I was kind of like drawn to every other professions in field, but the more thing was to me like kind of a technology. So I used to I wanted to become something like, I was like fascinated by this mechanical thing. So at home, so most of the times I was even caught and I was thrashed by my parents for doing all these things at home, like repairing on all these things. So that was also there. But that one thing I can tell you is like it's a course of education which actually draw my path, or it pulled me to the path where I wanted to be. So now I feel I'm at the right stage, or like I'm at the right path where I wanted to be, because things here always every day I experience things. So whatever I'm doing, I just love doing it. So this is something I really wanted in life, and of course I have got it.
Finally, you have achieved your goal. Yeah. One question has arisen in my mind that many of the PhD scholars they share their experience that they used to feel pressurized while writing the thesis and all. So, is it true?
Yeah, in this aspect, I would say, like, frankly telling, I'm not the odd one out. So, of course, we have, because I wouldn't call it kind of pressurized. So it's a kind of phase that every PhD scholar or every PhD holder goes through. So it's a kind of, I would say, must phase that everybody has to go through, because PhD is not something that comes easily, or like that just happens over a night. So it's kind of, sometimes you have to sacrifice certain things. It's kind of like continuous perseverance that you are trying to aspire something, or you're dedicatedly working on something to achieve something. But I would say for me, it did not pressurize much because I was doing something that I really love doing. So that's why before I started choosing my subject, I was very much kind of very firm, or I was very much rigid that I would never opt any other field of study for my PhD. So I was in mind, I was so much committed, I was so much specific that what I would be doing for my PhD. So I'd even informed my guide prior end well in before that. So if at all I'm doing PhD, I'm working on these and these aspects and no deviations. And I should be very much thankful to my professor, Dr. Sharanabasappa, actually, because he in fact supported me to the end. So he gave me full hand support and he said, okay, Sharath, just go ahead, what do you want to do, you do. So I you will have my support. So in fact, one way we were like blessed to have such a, because in PhD I would say the guide plays a very crucial role, not in terms of like maybe guiding you, but in terms of supporting you for what you're doing. So he really plays a very crucial role in your PhD life. So if you are getting complete support from him, then I would say like you are good to go with, and you may not feel that pressure, but it all depends on how you have maintained the environment around you. So that all it matters for any PhD holder. So that's why I would advise people who are going for their doctoral study, choose something that you are really want to do, or that really fascinates you to doing. Just don't choose something that just because of, or just for the sake of completing your degree, or for getting your degree and getting qualified as a doctor. Don't, never do that. So
Yeah.
because that will frustrate you at one point of time. So when you are doing something that you are not liking, so that really frustrates you. But for me, of course, I was little under pressure because I was stuck with this pandemic. Like how COVID was, like it had a very bad hit on us. So
Yes.
there was like I couldn't actually work for a couple of months because of this pandemic restrictions. So that time, of course, I really felt sort of pressurized. But later on, like when everything was okay, I just resumed myself and I happened to finish. But still, I would the greater support and the greater contribution came from my major advisor, my PhD supervisor. I should thank him, because of him, actually, I was able to complete my degree well within time.
Yeah, you were quite clear with your objectives at the beginning, which is very important. Let's talk about your peaks that you have captured with your camera. This
Okay,
will
sure. Thank
you
you.
have to share this story. The first peak is this. Could you remember the
Okay,
story?
so yes. So that's actually a beetle, which I captured when I was when I'd been to my insect collection trip. I think most of the images that are there on my gallery so had been captured either when I had been to collection trip or in and around my lab.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like I did not really take my time a lot because PhD was too hectic on me. Like I barely got some time to just go around wandering too much long distance and capture something. But I had so much time for insect collection because which was part of my profit. I mean, career as well,
Miss-
like the education. So whenever I went to the fields for collecting insects, of course, I used to capture them as well. And this particular beetle was captured in during one of my insect collection trip at Sagar. That's a place which comes in near Shumaga. Means that's a part of Western Ghats of Karnataka.
your
And that's
peaks.
a very thorny beetle.
Okay. And your all of your pictures seem to be quite professional. The next peak is this one, which is very cute.
Yes, that's a frog actually. So I don't remember exactly the name of it, but
Yeah.
that was captured actually during my, as I said, like collection trip. So I had been to collect the insects for my study. During that time, that's actually a maize plant. So inside the whole of the maize plant, that frog was residing. So when I went to collect the insect, I could spot this frog sitting inside, and it was just looking out. That's a very juvenile frog actually.
Okay.
So then, yeah, I had my camera in my bag. I just took out my camera and I had to shoot that frog. And that's the story of that frog actually. So otherwise, I did not went to field just to capture the frog. I went to collect the insects and I spot this, and it was juvenile and also very cute. And I thought, like, let me take my camera and capture it also.
Which camera equipment do you use for macrophotography?
Yes. Actually, I did not had the camera of my own. So again, the support came from my guide. So we had a lab camera in our lab. So which I used to carry to field for capturing insects. So it was Nikon. So the basic end camera, Nikon 5100. And there was one friend of mine, Dr. Girish. So who was like naturalist based at Hingara, that one nature stay which was part of Western Ghats. And because taking his advice, they were all like pro in photography, so he was the one who helped me to, or who inspired me to for macro photography. So then I started using some of the setups, or like some additional equipments along with my camera, like flash, speed lights, and diffusers, so that I'm able to capture this high resolution images or photos. And also there was one senior of mine, I would say my teacher also, in when I was studying my masters, who inspired me to macro photography. I think he was the first person who actually drew me to macro photography. His name was Dr. Yashwant. So he gave his camera, looking to my interest for capturing photos. He used to lend me his camera all the time whenever we used to go to insect collection trips. From then, I think it was 2016, where I started my capturing insects through, camera, professional DSLR camera. Before that, I used to capture it through phone, but later I shifted to camera because of his support as well. I think he's the first person who actually brought me to this macro photography. Then I could meet so many people who were in the same field, like macro photographers, wildlife enthusiasts, so who helped me and who guided me like throughout my journey to capture images in a different using different techniques or methods or some tips as well.
So next is this. What is the story behind this pic?
Yes. So as I previously mentioned, so I also took some of the photos which I used to spot in and around my lab or in my PhD campus. So that is actually egg mass of one of the pentatomid bug. So we call it stink bugs, or shield bugs, we call it. So that's a egg clutch, actually, egg mass of that bug. So what happens is that they lay eggs in masses, means like not just one single egg, maybe a group of 10 or group of 15 or 20. And what happens when that juvenile bugs, the nymphs, actually we call them nymphs, so when they actually when they grow up inside the egg, so they break open that egg and they come out when they are ready to hatch. So you can still, if you just zoom that image, you can still see that there is an opening, and from which the nymphs have come out. I think the next photo which have uploaded is the nymphs crawling out from that eggs, or they are surrounding that egg. So that was one moment I spotted in field, and I thought, like, let me capture this. So that's how that photo came.
Well, Dr. Sharath, we are to the end of this session, and I must say that you are truly an amazing and inspiring personality. It was great interacting with you.
Yes, thanks, Pallavi. I want to thank you because I know it was very quite a long period of time that you had asked me for an interview.
Yeah,
But I think that period of time I was just going through my PhD
yeah, I
journey. Like, I was
understand.
like loaded, and I could not draw my time just to interact or like with a free set of mind. So thanks for this opportunity, and thanks for inviting me to your channel and giving me this time to interact with you and the rest of audience, who will be watching this episode in future as well. So thanks to you as well.
My pleasure. And I exactly remember the date when I contacted you. It was 27 December 2022. And I
Yes.
got a connection from you on this, I think, 5th or 4th of
Yes.
November. So it's almost
November.
10 to 11 months.
Within
But
11
I'm
months.
really happy to be
Yes.
successful
Yes.
interviewing you. So audience, this was
Thank
Dr.
you.
Sharath from the field of entomology. Hope you enjoyed today's interview. I will be back soon with another eminent personality very soon. Till then, goodbye. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.